The orbital station floated above Proxima Centauri like a silver crown in the darkness of space. Inside its main chamber, representatives from 12 alien races sat in a perfect circle. Their bodies came in all shapes and sizes. Some looked like walking crystals. Others resembled giant insects or floating clouds of gas. At the far end of the circle, 3 humans sat together, looking small and fragile compared to the ancient beings around them. Admiral Doyun kept his face calm, but his hands were clasped tight under the table. He had fought in wars before. He had seen friends die, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Next to him, Ambassador Hana sat with her back straight, her eyes fixed on the Supreme Arbiter at the center of the room. The Arbiter was a Velthian, a being made of living crystal that glowed with an inner light. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with thunder. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision," the Arbiter announced. Its light pulsed brighter with each word. "Humanity has violated Protocol 47C. You have built weapons without our approval. You have expanded your military beyond your home world. This cannot be allowed." Doyen felt Hana tense beside him. On his other side, Dr. Jinwoo adjusted his glasses nervously. The scientist had spent 5 years building the Janus Array, a network of defense platforms orbiting Jupiter. It was humanity's pride, their shield against any threat, and now the Council wanted it destroyed. The Arbiter continued, "You will dismantle the Janus Array within 30 Earth days. You will surrender all weapons research that we have not approved. You will allow our peacekeeping fleet to orbit your planet. If you refuse these terms, we will take corrective measures." The way it said those last 2 words made the temperature in the room feel colder. Around the circle, the other alien representatives nodded their approval. Some looked satisfied. Others seemed bored, as if this was just routine business. None of them looked at the humans with sympathy. Doyen stood slowly. Every eye in the room turned toward him. He was 53 years old, with gray streaks in his black hair and scars on his hands from the Mars conflict 20 years ago. He had learned long ago that fear was useful only if you controlled it. "We understand your terms," Doyen said in a steady voice. "We will need time to deliberate with our government. We will respond within your time frame." The Arbiter's light dimmed slightly, as if disappointed that the humans had not argued or begged. "Very well. This session is concluded." As the chamber emptied, Hana leaned close to Doyun and whispered, "They think we're going to surrender." Doyun's jaw tightened. Let them think that. The 3 humans walked through the station's corridors toward their transport ship. The walls were made of some alien material that shifted colors as they passed. Other species moved past them without a second glance. To the Council, humanity was just another young race that needed to learn its place. Dr. Jinwoo finally spoke, his voice shaking slightly. "They're going to destroy us, aren't they? If we don't comply, they'll send their fleet and wipe us out." "Not if we move first," Doyen replied quietly. Their ship was small compared to the massive alien vessels docked nearby. It looked like a metal egg with engines attached. Inside, the pilot was already running pre-flight checks. As soon as they were aboard and the door sealed behind them, Hana let out a long breath. 30 days, she said, sinking into her seat. "They're giving us 30 days to become slaves." Doyen sat across from her and finally allowed himself to show emotion. His eyes were hard as steel. "The Council has been doing this for thousands of years. They find a young species, they offer membership, they make them dependent, and then they make them obey. We knew this might happen." "But the Janus Array," Jinwoo protested. "It took years to build. If we dismantle it, we'll have nothing to defend ourselves with." "We won't dismantle anything," Doyen said firmly. "But we'll make them think we are." The ship pulled away from the station and jumped into faster-than-light travel. The journey back to Earth would take 6 hours. Doyen spent that time staring out the window at the streaks of light passing by. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was 16, studying to become a pilot like him. He thought about the millions of humans living peaceful lives, unaware that their freedom was about to be stolen. When they finally entered Earth's solar system, the blue and green planet came into view. Doyen had seen it from space hundreds of times, but it never stopped being beautiful. Their ship headed straight for Seoul, descending through the atmosphere and landing at a military base hidden underground. They were escorted immediately to the war room, a massive chamber carved deep beneath the city. President Minji was already there, along with General Tae-yang and Intelligence Director Sora. The room's walls were covered with screens showing star maps, fleet positions, and tactical data. "Tell me everything," President Minji said without preamble. She was 42 years old and had been elected Earth's first unified president 3 years ago. Her job was supposed to be about managing peaceful relations with the galaxy. Instead, she was about to make a decision that would determine humanity's survival. Doyen explained the Council's ultimatum, while Hana provided diplomatic details and Jinwoo discussed the technical implications. When they finished, the room fell silent. General Tae-yang spoke first. He was a broad-shouldered man with a face like carved stone. "We always knew this was a possibility. The intelligence reports have been clear. The Council doesn't negotiate, they dominate." "Then we fight," President Minji said simply. Director Sora stepped forward. She was thin and sharp-eyed, the kind of person who noticed everything. "We have an option, Project Frozen Fury. It's been in development for 2 years in complete secrecy." "The cryogenic weapons program?" Jinwoo asked, surprised. "I thought that was just theoretical research." "It was," Sora replied, "until 6 months ago when we made it operational. The Council doesn't know it exists." President Minji looked at each person in the room. "If we do this, if we fight back, there's no going back. We'll be at war with forces that have conquered entire galaxies." "We'll be at war with forces that think we're weak," Doyen corrected. "They've never fought a species that survived ice ages. They've never faced an enemy that knows how to weaponize cold itself." Hana stood up. "I say we show them what happens when you threaten Earth. I say we remind them that humans don't break easily." One by one, everyone in the room voiced their agreement. President Minji nodded slowly. "Then it's decided. We prepare for war, and we make sure that when the Council comes for us, they regret ever making that threat." Doyen looked at the screens showing Jupiter and the Janus array orbiting the giant planet. "They want us to dismantle our defenses. Instead, we're going to turn our entire solar system into a trap. When their fleet arrives, we'll show them something they've never seen before." "What's that?" President Minji asked. Do-yun's expression was cold as winter itself. "We'll show them what happens when you wake up humanity's frozen fury." The war room deep beneath Seoul had not been empty for 3 days. Scientists, military officers, and government officials worked around the clock, planning humanity's response to the Council's threat. Coffee cups and food containers piled up on tables. Nobody went home. Nobody slept more than a few hours. Dr. Jinwoo stood at a massive display screen, showing holographic images of strange weapons that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. Except these were real. He had helped create them. Project Frozen Fury started as a simple question. Jinwoo explained to the assembled group. "What if we could weaponize extreme cold? Not just freeze something, but freeze space itself. Freeze energy. Freeze the laws of physics in a small area." General Tae-yang crossed his arms. "How does that help us against ships that can destroy planets?" Jinwoo pressed a button and the hologram changed to show a missile. "This is an absolute zero missile. When it detonates, it creates a sphere of space where temperature drops to absolute zero. Nothing can move in that sphere. Energy weapons stop working. Ship engines freeze. Even light slows down. It lasts for about 10 minutes before normal physics returns." 10 minutes is enough time to destroy a frozen ship," Admiral Doyen observed. Exactly, Jinwoo continued. We also developed cryo-EMP warheads. They freeze electrical systems at the molecular level. A ship hit by one of these will have every computer, every circuit, every piece of electronics turned into frozen junk. And finally, we have the Icarus drones. A new image appeared, showing sleek ships covered in reflective ice armor. These are unmanned fighters coated in specially designed ice that reflects sensor beams and laser weapons. They're almost invisible to detection systems. We can swarm enemy ships before they even know we're there. President Minji studied the weapons carefully. Why didn't the Council develop these technologies? Director Sora answered that question. Because their worlds never had ice ages. They never needed to understand extreme cold as a survival tool. Humans are the only species in the Council that evolved on a planet with frozen continents. We learned to master ice before we even learned to make fire last forever. It's in our history, our culture, our science. The Council thinks we're primitive, Hana added. They think our short time in space makes us weak. They don't realize that our youth is our advantage. We think differently than species that have been comfortable for millions of years. General Taeyang turned to Doyen. What's your strategy, Admiral? Doyen stepped forward and pulled up a map of the solar system. Operation Permafrost. It has 3 phases. Phase 1 starts now. We send a message to the Council saying we'll comply with their demands. We begin publicly dismantling the Janus array. We act defeated and scared. That'll be hard for people to stomach, President Minji said quietly. It has to look real, Doyen insisted. The Council will send observers to watch us. We need them to believe we're surrendering. Meanwhile, Phase 2 happens in secret. We don't actually destroy the Janus array. We break it apart, yes, but we move every piece to hidden positions. The asteroid belt, Saturn's rings, the moons of Jupiter. We spread our weapons across the entire solar system. He zoomed the map out further. We also move our main fleet to Neptune. The planet is so cold and so far out that sensor readings are unreliable there. We can hide hundreds of ships in Neptune's orbit and the Council won't detect them until it's too late. And Phase 3? General Taeyang asked. Doyen's expression became grim. Phase 3 is when the Council's peacekeeping fleet arrives. They'll come expecting to occupy Earth. Instead, they'll fly into a solar system that's become a trap. We hit them with everything we have. Absolute zero missiles from hidden positions. Cryo-EMP strikes to disable their biggest ships. Icarus drones swarming from Neptune. We don't just defend ourselves, we destroy them completely. The room fell silent. What Doyen was proposing was bold to the point of insanity. Humanity would be attacking forces that had conquered galaxies. Director Sora pulled up intelligence files. We've been studying the Council's history for years. They've used this exact tactic 17 times before. They threaten a young species with their peacekeeping fleet. The species surrenders. Then slowly, over decades, the Council takes control of everything. Technology, resources, culture. Eventually, the species stops being independent and just becomes another servant race. She showed images of alien civilizations that looked broken and defeated. This is what happens to species that comply. This is what they want to do to us. President Minji looked at each person in the room. If we fight and lose, they'll exterminate us. Every human, every child. Earth will become a dead rock floating in space. If we surrender, we die anyway, Hana replied. Just slower, just quietly. Our children will grow up as slaves. Our grandchildren won't even remember what freedom felt like. Jinwoo adjusted his glasses nervously. There's something else you should know. I've been analyzing the Council's fleet composition. Their ships are powerful, but they're designed for overwhelming force against weaker opponents. They've never fought an enemy that could really hurt them. Their tactics are based on intimidation, not actual combat experience. You're saying they're bullies, General Taeyang said. Exactly. and bullies don't know how to handle it when someone fights back hard. President Minji stood and walked to the window. Even though they were deep underground, the window showed a live feed of Seoul's surface. Millions of people going about their lives, children playing, old couples walking in parks, all of them unaware of the decision being made right now. "I need to know," she said without turning around. "Can we win?" Admiral Doyun joined her at the window. "The Council has more ships, more experience, more resources. On paper, they should crush us easily." "But?" President Minji prompted. "But humans have something they don't. We have desperation. We have creativity born from constantly facing extinction and surviving anyway. We have the willingness to sacrifice everything for our freedom. And most importantly, we have weapons they've never seen before and don't know how to counter." He turned to face her. "Can we win? I don't know for certain. But I know we can hurt them badly enough that they'll regret ever threatening us. And maybe that's enough." President Minji was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she turned back to the room. "Let's put it to a vote. Everyone here represents a different part of Earth's government and military. If even one person says no, we'll find another way. Raise your hand if you support Operation Permafrost." Every hand went up. Not a single person hesitated. "Then it's unanimous," President Minji declared. "We prepare for war. General Taiyang, start moving our fleets into position. Do it slowly so the Council observers don't notice. Dr. Jinwoo, I want every Frozen Fury weapon ready to deploy within 20 days. Director Sora, feed false information to any Council spies. Make them believe we're panicking and falling apart." She looked at Hana. "Ambassador, you have the hardest job. You need to go back to the Council and convince them we're surrendering. You need to look defeated. Can you do that?" Hana smiled coldly. "I'm a diplomat. Acting is part of the job. I'll make them believe we're terrified, and while they're celebrating their victory, we'll be preparing to show them what real terror looks like." Admiral Doyen pulled up the star map one more time. He highlighted Neptune, far out on the edge of the solar system. "This is where we'll stage our main force. Commander Hyun will lead the Neptune fleet. When the Council arrives, they'll focus on Earth and Mars. They won't look behind them. Won't expect an attack from the outer system." "It's like a winter storm," Jinwoo observed. "You don't see it coming until it's already on top of you. And by then, it's too late to escape." General Taeyang nodded approvingly. "If the Council wants to threaten Earth, let them come. We'll be waiting, and we'll show them that humans learned long ago how to survive in the cold. How to thrive in conditions that would kill softer species." President Minji raised her hand, and everyone fell silent. 30 days. That's what the Council gave us. Let's use every single hour. Let's turn our solar system into a trap that they'll never forget. And let's make sure that when this is over, the Council never threatens another species again. As the meeting ended and people rushed to their tasks, Admiral Doyun stayed behind, staring at the holographic solar system. Somewhere out there, the Council was planning Earth's occupation. They thought it would be easy. They thought humans would bow. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Ambassador Hana stood before the Galactic Council once again, but this time her shoulders were slumped. Her voice trembled slightly when she spoke. Every word sounded like it hurt to say. "Earth accepts the Council's terms," she announced to the assembled aliens. "We will dismantle the Janus Array. We will surrender our weapons research. We will allow your peacekeeping fleet to orbit our planet. We ask only that you show mercy to our people." The Supreme Arbiter's crystalline body glowed brightly with satisfaction. "You have made the wise choice, human. Your species will be preserved. You will learn to appreciate the security that Council membership provides." Around the chamber, the other alien representatives looked pleased. Some even seemed bored, as if they had expected this outcome all along. The Velthian military commander, War Master Krell, leaned back in his seat. He was a massive being, his crystal body dark red like frozen blood. Our fleet will arrive at Earth in 28 of your days, Krell announced. His voice sounded like grinding rocks. Have your surrender prepared. Do not make us wait. Hana bowed her head, looking every bit the defeated diplomat. Inside, her heart was racing with controlled rage. She wanted to tell them the truth, wanted to see their faces when they realized they had been fooled. But patience was part of the plan. Back on Earth, the public dismantling of the Janus array had begun. News cameras from across the planet broadcast the images. Massive defense platforms that had taken years to build were being broken apart. Explosions in space marked where weapons systems were deliberately destroyed. People on Earth watched with heavy hearts. Many cried. Some protested in the streets, angry that their government was surrendering. They did not know the truth. They could not know, or the Council observers would detect the deception. High above Jupiter, Admiral Doyen watched the same dismantling from a secret command ship. But he saw what the cameras did not show. Each platform that exploded sent pieces flying in carefully calculated directions. Those pieces were not debris. They were weapons systems being repositioned to hidden locations. Sector 7 complete, reported an officer. All components relocated to Asteroid Base Delta. Sector 12 complete, another voice called out. Weapons moved to Saturn Ring Station. What looked like destruction was actually the most complex game of hide-and-seek ever played. Every piece of the Janus array was being moved, hidden, and redeployed across the solar system. And the Council observers watching from their ships near Mars saw only what humanity wanted them to see. Far out in the cold darkness beyond Neptune, Commander Hyun supervised the assembly of the main fleet. 200 ships gathered in the shadow of the ice giant, their engines running cold to avoid detection. These were not massive warships like the Council flew. They were smaller, faster, and covered in experimental ice armor that made them nearly invisible. Commander Hyun was 32 years old and had trained in Earth's Antarctic exclusion zone, where humans tested cold-weather survival techniques. She understood ice the way other people understood fire. To her, the frozen outer solar system was not hostile. It was home. "Deploy the Icarus drones," she ordered. "I want 1,000 of them ready to launch at my command." The drones emerged from carrier ships like a swarm of metallic insects. Each one was coated in ice that had been grown in zero gravity, creating perfect reflective surfaces. When the Council's sensors swept across Neptune, they would see nothing but natural ice formations. On Earth, President Minji addressed the planet in a broadcast that reached every home. Her face looked tired and sad. "My fellow humans," she said slowly, "we have chosen peace over war, survival over pride. In the coming days, ships from the Galactic Council will arrive in our skies. I ask that you remain calm. Remember that we are making this choice to protect our children's future." The words felt like poison in her mouth, but they were necessary. Every person who watched believed Earth was surrendering. The Council believed it too. That was exactly what humanity needed them to believe. Deep in the underground war room, General Tae Yang tracked the Council fleet's approach. They had left Proxima Centauri right on schedule. 47 warships, each one massive enough to carry thousands of troops. Their formation was lazy, confident. They were not expecting a fight. 23 days until arrival, Tae Yang reported to the command staff. They're not even trying to hide their approach. They want us to see them coming. Want us to feel fear. Let them think we're afraid, Admiral Doyen replied. Fear can be a weapon too, if you control it. Dr. Jinwoo was making final adjustments to the Absolute Zero missiles hidden throughout the system. Each one was programmed to wait for a specific signal before activating. He had not slept properly in weeks. His hands shook from too much coffee and too much stress. "The missiles are ready," he reported. "Once we give the command, the Council fleet will be flying through a minefield they can't even detect." The days counted down. 20 days became 15. 15 became 10. The Council fleet grew closer. On Earth, people prepared for occupation. Some fled to rural areas hoping to hide. Others stood in city squares holding signs protesting the surrender. They did not know they were part of the greatest bluff in human history. 5 days before the fleet's arrival, Ambassador Hana sent her final message to the Council. Earth is ready to receive you. Our weapons are dismantled. Our defenses are down. We await your arrival. War Master Krell responded personally. Good. Know that you have made the correct choice, humans. In time, you will forget you ever wanted independence. You will serve the Council gladly. Hana smiled at the transmission screen after disconnecting. We'll see about that, she whispered. On the final day, the Council fleet entered Earth's solar system. Their ships emerged from faster-than-light travel near Mars, massive and gleaming in the sunlight. Each warship was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could turn continents to ash. War Master Krell broadcast to the entire planet. Humans of Earth, we have arrived. Your occupation begins now. Prepare to receive our forces. In the war room, every screen showed the enemy fleet. President Minji stood beside Admiral Doyen, her hand hovering over a single red button. This was the moment, the point of no return. Are all forces in position? She asked quietly. Neptune fleet ready? Commander Hyun's voice came through the communication system. Hidden platforms armed, reported the officer monitoring the repositioned Janus array. Absolute zero missiles locked on targets, Dr. Jinwoo confirmed. President Minji took a deep breath. Then she opened a direct channel to War Master Krell. The alien commander appeared on the screen, his red crystal body glowing with triumph. War Master Krell, President Minji said, and her voice was no longer weak or defeated. It was hard as steel and cold as ice. You misunderstood our message. We said we would respond to your threat. We never said we would surrender. Krell's glow flickered with confusion. What? Humanity has survived 5 mass extinctions on our planet. We have endured ice ages that covered entire continents. We have fought wars that killed millions and came back stronger each time. And you thought we would bow to threats? The confusion in Krell's voice turned to anger. You dare. I dare, President Minji interrupted. You came to our home. You threatened our children. You tried to take our freedom. Now you're going to learn what humans do when pushed into a corner. We don't surrender, we fight, and we make sure our enemies regret ever challenging us. She looked directly into the camera, knowing the entire Council fleet was watching. Welcome to winter, War Master. Welcome to Earth's frozen fury. Admiral Doyen pressed the activation button. Across the solar system, hidden weapons came alive. From the asteroid belt, from Saturn's rings, from Jupiter's moons, absolute zero missiles launched. They crossed the distance to the Council fleet in seconds. The first missile hit a Velthian cruiser, and a sphere of frozen space expanded around it. The ship's engines died instantly. Its weapons went silent. The entire vessel became trapped in a bubble where physics itself had stopped working. More missiles followed. Sphere after sphere of frozen space appeared throughout the Council formation. Ships that had been moving forward suddenly froze in place, unable to move or fight back. Launch the Icarus drones, Commander Hyun ordered from Neptune. 1,000 ice-covered fighters burst from their hiding places, accelerating toward the confused Council fleet. They moved like a blizzard, chaotic and overwhelming. The Council's defensive lasers fired, but the beams reflected off the drones' ice armor, scattering harmlessly into space. The drones reached the frozen ships and began tearing them apart. Without shields or working weapons, the great Council warships were helpless. War Master Krell watched in horror as his fleet was decimated. Impossible, he breathed. This is impossible. You're primitives. You can't have this technology. We're humans, Admiral Doyen responded. We've been surviving impossible situations since before your species learned to fly. This is what we do." Krell roared with rage. "All ships, full attack on Earth. Destroy the planet!" But even as he gave the order, more Absolute Zero missiles found their targets. The Council fleet was breaking apart, ships freezing and dying throughout the formation. Far out by Neptune, Commander Hyun smiled. "Now comes the real storm," she said. "All ships full speed toward Earth. Let's finish this." The hidden human fleet burst from Neptune's shadow like wolves attacking wounded prey. The Council had been so focused on Earth, they had never looked behind them, never expected an attack from the outer solar system. Now they were caught between the frozen traps ahead and the charging fleet behind. And for the first time in 1,000 years of conquest, the Galactic Council's military forces knew what it meant to face an enemy that refused to die. The Council fleet was in chaos. Ships that had entered Earth's solar system expecting easy victory now found themselves trapped in bubbles of frozen space or under attack from swarming drones they could barely detect. Explosions lit up the darkness as human weapons tore through alien hulls. But War Master Krell was not ready to accept defeat. His flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was the largest and most powerful ship in the fleet. Its shields were stronger than any other vessels. Its weapons could destroy moons. While the rest of his fleet struggled against humanity's frozen fury, Krell pushed his ship forward toward Earth. "All power to forward shields," he commanded his crew. "We will show these primitives the cost of defiance. If we cannot occupy their world, we will burn it." The Eternal Dominion was 15 kilometers long, a massive wedge of dark crystal and metal. When the Absolute Zero missiles hit its shields, they exploded harmlessly against energy barriers that had survived battles against entire civilizations. The Icarus drones swarmed around it, but their attacks barely scratched its armored surface. In the war room beneath Seoul, Admiral Doyen watched the flagship break through his defenses. Sweat ran down his face as he studied the tactical displays. Every weapon he had was designed to stop normal warships, but the Eternal Dominion was not normal. "The flagship is approaching Mars orbit," an officer reported, voice tight with stress. "Estimated time to Earth strike range, 40 minutes. General Taeyang slammed his fist on the table. "We need to stop that ship now. If it gets close enough to fire its main weapons, it can glass our entire planet." Dr. Jinwoo frantically worked at his console, running calculations. "The Absolute Zero missiles aren't strong enough. The ship's shields are too powerful. We would need something that could freeze it from the inside, not the outside." "Do we have anything like that?" President Minji demanded. Jinwoo hesitated. "There's one option. The cryo core. It's a prototype weapon I've been developing. It creates a negative energy reaction that freezes everything within a kilometer radius, but it's never been tested in real combat. And it has to be delivered directly inside the target." "Inside?" Doyen repeated. "That means someone would have to fly a ship into that monster and detonate the weapon manually." "Yes," Jinwoo said quietly. "And they wouldn't survive it. The freeze effect happens instantly. Whoever delivers the cryo core will be frozen along with everything else." The room fell silent. What Jinwoo was describing was a suicide mission, flying into the most dangerous ship in the galaxy and dying to destroy it from within. "I'll do it," a voice said from the back of the room. Everyone turned. Lieutenant Yoonji stepped forward. She was 24 years old, one of the youngest fighter pilots in Earth's fleet. Her call sign was Frost, because she had grown up in the mountains of northern Korea, where winter lasted half the year. "Lieutenant," Admiral Doyen began, "do you understand what you're volunteering for?" Yoonji's face was calm. "Yes, sir. I understand perfectly. Someone has to stop that ship, and I'm qualified to do it. I've flown close approach missions before. I know how to get through heavy defenses." "You'll die," General Taeyang said bluntly. "There's no rescue, no escape. I know, Yunji replied, but my family lives in Seoul. My little brother is 12 years old. He's probably watching the sky right now, wondering if those alien ships are going to hurt him. I promised him I would always protect him. This is how I keep that promise. President Minji walked over to the young pilot. Are you absolutely sure about this? Yunji met her eyes without flinching. Ma'am, if I don't do this and that ship destroys Earth, I'll die anyway. At least this way, my death means something. It saves everyone I love. Admiral Doyen felt his throat tighten. He had given many difficult orders in his career, had sent soldiers into dangerous situations. But asking this young woman to sacrifice herself was one of the hardest things he had ever done. Permission granted, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Dr. Jinwoo will prepare the cryo-core. You'll launch within 20 minutes. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur. Jinwoo worked with his team to install the cryo-core into Yeonji's fighter. The weapon looked like a sphere of dark ice that seemed to drink in the light around it. Just looking at it made people feel cold. Yeonji suited up in the pilot's ready room. Her hands were steady as she sealed her helmet. Other pilots gathered around her, silent and respectful. They all knew what she was about to do. Commander Hyun appeared on a video screen. Lieutenant Eunji, the Neptune fleet will provide cover fire to help you get close. We'll draw as much of the flagship's attention as we can. Thank you, Commander, Eunji replied. Tell my brother I kept my promise. I will, Hyun said, her voice breaking slightly. Good luck, Frost. Earth won't forget what you're doing today. Eunji climbed into her fighter. It was small and fast, designed for quick strikes rather than prolonged combat. The cryo-core sat in the weapons bay where missiles normally went. She ran through her pre-flight checks automatically, her training taking over. Tower to Frost, the control officer's voice came through her helmet. You're cleared for launch. May the ancestors watch over you. May they watch over all of us, Eunji responded. Her fighter launched from the underground base, rocketing up through Earth's atmosphere. Within seconds, she was in space, accelerating toward the Eternal Dominion. The massive flagship loomed ahead like a dark mountain. The Council ship's weapons immediately locked onto her. Plasma beams cut through space, trying to incinerate her fighter. But Eunji flew like she was dancing, spinning and diving through the deadly light show. Years of training in difficult conditions had made her one of the best pilots humanity had. Commander Hyun's fleet arrived, hundreds of ships attacking the flagship from all sides. They were not trying to destroy it, just to distract it, to give Eunji her chance. All fighters, focus fire on the flagship's port side, Hyun commanded. Make them look at us, not at Frost. The plan worked. The Eternal Dominion's weapons turned toward the larger threat, leaving a small gap in its defenses. Eunji saw her opening and pushed her engines to maximum. Plasma fire grazed her ship's shields. Warning alarms screamed in her cockpit. Part of her left wing melted away, but she kept flying, kept pushing forward. Almost there, she whispered to herself. Just a little further. The flagship's hangar bay came into view, a massive opening in its hull where smaller ships could dock. Eunji aimed directly for it. The entrance was protected by energy barriers, but her fighter was small enough and fast enough to slip through before they could adjust. She punched through the barrier with a burst of speed that nearly tore her ship apart. Suddenly, she was inside the flagship, surrounded by alien atmosphere and artificial gravity. Enemy fighters and maintenance drones filled the hangar, but none of them expected a human ship to appear among them. Eunji armed the cryo-core and set it for immediate detonation. She had maybe 10 seconds before someone realized what she was about to do. On her communication screen, a video feed showed her little brother's face. He had recorded a message for her before she left. Be safe, sister, his recorded voice said. Come home soon. I'm sorry, Eunji whispered, tears running down her face. But I am keeping us safe. I promise. She pressed the detonation button. The cryocore exploded with a pulse of negative energy that spread through the flagship like ice spreading across water. Everything the wave touched froze instantly. Alien crew members became statues of ice, computer systems crystallized and shattered, weapons systems locked up as their components turned brittle and dead. War Master Krell, standing on his bridge, barely had time to realize what was happening before the freeze reached him. His last thought was one of disbelief that a single human had destroyed his mighty ship. Lieutenant Onji felt the cold spread through her fighter and into her body. There was no pain. One moment she was alive, aware, breathing. The next moment she was frozen, her atoms locked in place, her final expression one of peace. The Eternal Dominion, the pride of the Velthian fleet, became a tomb. 15 kilometers of frozen ship drifting dead in space, a monument to one pilot's sacrifice and humanity's determination to survive. In the war room, everyone watched the flagship's systems go dark on their monitors. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Admiral Doyen's voice came through, quiet but firm. "All forces advance. The flagship is down. Let's finish this." The remaining Council ships, seeing their most powerful vessel destroyed from within, began to panic. Their formation broke apart. Ships that had come to conquer Earth now desperately tried to escape. Commander Hyun's fleet pursued them without mercy. The Icarus drones hunted down stragglers. Absolute Zero missiles trapped the slowest vessels in frozen death. Of the 47 ships that had entered Earth's solar system, only 12 managed to escape to faster-than-light speed. The rest were destroyed or captured. The battle was over. Earth had won. But in the celebrating war room, Admiral Doyen looked at the frozen flagship on his screen and thought of the young pilot who would never come home. Victory had a price, and Lieutenant Yunji had paid it in full. 3 days after the battle, the frozen hull of the Eternal Dominion still orbited Mars. Earth's recovery teams had examined it carefully, but no one had tried to salvage it. Admiral Doyen had declared it a war memorial, a reminder of what humanity could do when threatened. Inside that frozen tomb, Lieutenant Yunji remained at her fighter's controls, forever preserved in her moment of sacrifice. On Proxima Centauri, the Galactic Council met in emergency session for the first time in 300 years. The Supreme Arbiter's crystalline body had lost much of its glow. Around the chamber, the representatives of the 12 elder races looked shaken and afraid. For thousands of years, they had been the ones who gave ultimatums. Now they were the ones receiving a message from Earth. The message was simple and direct. President Minji's face appeared on every screen in the chamber, and her voice was calm but firm. "Members of the Galactic Council, you sent a fleet to occupy our world. That fleet has been destroyed. 35 ships were lost. 12 escaped with heavy damage. We have taken prisoners from damaged vessels, and they are being treated well according to our laws. However, we will not return them until certain conditions are met." The Supreme Arbiter wanted to interrupt, to assert authority, but the words died in its throat. The Council had no authority anymore. Not over Earth. President Minji continued. "Here are our terms. First, Earth's sovereignty is absolute and non-negotiable. No Council ship will enter our solar system without explicit permission from our government. Second, all weapons and defense systems we have built will remain in place. We will not dismantle anything. Third, you will pay compensation to the families of those who died defending our world. Fourth, any future disagreements between Earth and the Council will be resolved through diplomatic negotiation, not threats or military action. And finally, humanity will have an equal vote in Council decisions, not as junior members, not as primitives who need guidance, as equals." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some representatives protested that such terms were unacceptable. Others insisted that Earth needed to be punished for destroying Council ships. But the Supreme Arbiter raised one crystalline arm, and silence fell. Earth has demonstrated its ability to defend itself, the Arbiter said slowly. They have weapons we did not know existed. They have tactics we cannot counter. If we send another fleet, they will destroy that one too, and eventually we will have no fleets left. Are you suggesting we surrender to these humans? Demanded a representative from the Crithian Empire. I am suggesting we accept reality, the Arbiter replied. We threatened them. They responded with overwhelming force. They could have hunted down our fleeing ships and destroyed them all, but they showed mercy. They are offering us peace on reasonable terms. I recommend we accept. The vote was close, but eventually the Council agreed to Earth's demands. They had no choice. 2 weeks later, Ambassador Hana returned to the Council station above Proxima Centauri. This time, she walked into the chamber with her head held high. She was no longer a representative of a weak species begging for acceptance. She was the voice of a power that had proven itself in battle. The Supreme Arbiter greeted her with something that might have been respect. Ambassador Hana, the Council has agreed to your terms. Earth's sovereignty will be recognized. Your defense systems may remain. We will compensate the families who lost loved ones. And you will have an equal vote in all Council matters. Thank you, Hana replied. But I want to make one thing clear. Earth did not want this war. We would have preferred to join the galactic community as peaceful partners. You forced us to show our strength. We hope this is the last time such displays are necessary. As do we, the Arbiter said quietly. You have taught us a painful lesson, Ambassador. We had grown comfortable in our power. We forgot that younger species can be just as strong as old ones, perhaps stronger because they still remember how to fight for survival. Over the following months, Earth and the Council worked to establish new diplomatic relations. It was not easy. There was anger on both sides. The Council resented being defeated by primitives. Humans resented being called primitives in the first place. But slowly, carefully, a real peace began to form. On Earth, life started returning to normal. The military remained on high alert, but the immediate danger had passed. Cities that had prepared for occupation now celebrated their freedom. Children who had been afraid to look at the sky now pointed at stars and dreamed of traveling to them someday. In Seoul, a new memorial was being built in honor of those who had fought in the battle. At its center stood a massive ice sculpture of a young woman in a pilot's suit. The sculpture was made from real ice that was kept frozen by special technology. It would never melt, never fade. Lieutenant Yunji would be remembered forever. At the memorial's dedication ceremony, thousands of people gathered. President Minji gave a speech, talking about sacrifice and courage. General Taiyang spoke about duty and honor. But the most powerful moment came when Yunji's younger brother, now 13 years old, stepped up to the microphone. My sister promised she would protect me, he said, his voice shaking but clear. She kept that promise. She protected all of us. Every person on Earth is alive because of what she did. I miss her every day. But I'm also proud of her. She showed the galaxy what humans are made of. He placed flowers at the base of the ice sculpture, and the crowd was silent except for the sound of quiet tears. Admiral Doyon attended the ceremony in his full-dress uniform. He stood at attention, saluting the frozen image of the young pilot. He had given the order that sent her to her death, and that guilt would stay with him forever. But he also knew that she had volunteered, that she had understood the cost and paid it willingly. After the ceremony, Doyon met with Dr. Jinwoo. The scientist had retired from weapons development, unable to continue creating tools of destruction after seeing what they cost. I'm going to focus on peaceful technology now, Jinwoo explained as they walked through a park. Medical applications for the cold technology. Ways to preserve organs for transplant. Things that save lives instead of ending them. That's good, Doyon replied. The weapons we built kept us free. But we shouldn't define ourselves by them. What will you do now? Jinwoo asked. Doyen looked up at the sky where stars were beginning to appear in the evening darkness. Keep watching. Keep preparing. The Council accepted our terms, but there are other threats out there. Other species who might see Earth as weak or vulnerable. My job is to make sure we're never caught unprepared again. Commander Hyun had been promoted to Admiral after the battle. She now oversaw the Neptune Defense Fleet, which had grown to 500 ships. The outer solar system had become humanity's early warning system, a frozen fortress that would detect any threat long before it reached Earth. In her quarters on Neptune Station, Hyun kept a photograph of Lieutenant Yoonji on her desk. They had never met in person, but Hyun felt a connection to the young pilot who had sacrificed everything. 6 months after the battle, the Council called a special session to officially recognize Earth's new status. Ambassador Hana attended, along with Admiral Doyen and President Minji. The entire event was broadcast across the galaxy. The Supreme Arbiter spoke to the assembled representatives. Today, we recognize a truth that we should have acknowledged long ago. Strength comes in many forms. Wisdom is not measured only by age. The humans of Earth have proven themselves worthy of full membership in this council. They defended their home with courage and creativity. They showed mercy to defeated enemies. And they have taught us that the galaxy is large enough for many different kinds of strength. The Arbiter turned to face the human delegation. Earth, you are no longer a junior member of this council. You are our equals. We welcome you. For the first time in council history, all 12 elder races stood and bowed to a younger species. It was a gesture of respect that had never been given before. President Minji stepped forward to address the council. We accept this recognition with gratitude and humility. But we also want to say something important. The battle we fought should never have happened. Lives were lost on both sides because of threats and misunderstandings. Let us make sure that such conflicts never happen again. She looked around the chamber at all the different alien species. Earth proposes a new protocol for the Council. Before any military action is taken against any species, there must be a mandatory negotiation period. Real diplomacy, not ultimatums. Real attempts to find peaceful solutions. The galaxy is too big and too dangerous for us to fight among ourselves. The proposal was discussed for hours, but eventually it was adopted unanimously. It became known as the Yoonji Protocol, named after the pilot whose sacrifice had shown the cost of failed diplomacy. 1 year after the battle, Admiral Doyen visited the frozen Eternal Dominion for the first time. He took a shuttle out to Mars orbit and floated near the dead flagship. Through the viewport, he could see the frozen crew members at their stations, forever locked in the moment of their defeat. "I'm sorry it came to this," he said quietly, knowing no one could hear him. "We didn't want to kill you. We just wanted to be free." He thought about War Master Krell, frozen on the bridge of his ship. The alien commander had been so certain of victory, so confident that humanity would break under pressure. He had learned the truth too late. Back on Earth, children now grew up learning about the battle of the solar system in their history classes. They learned about the clever tactics, the frozen weapons, the brave pilots, but most importantly, they learned about the price of freedom. Lieutenant Yoonji became a symbol for an entire generation. Young people across Earth saw her sacrifice and understood that sometimes protecting what you love requires everything you have to give. Military academies had waiting lists years long. Everyone wanted to be part of the force that kept Earth safe. But Earth's government was careful not to let the victory create arrogance. President Minji often reminded people that humanity had been lucky. The Council's fleet had been overconfident and poorly prepared. A more cautious enemy might have been harder to defeat. "We won this battle," she said in one speech. "But we must never assume we'll win the next one. We must stay vigilant, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay humble. The galaxy is full of wonders and dangers. We must be ready for both. Director Sora continued to run intelligence operations, watching for any new threats. She knew that not everyone in the galaxy was happy about Earth's victory. Some species saw humanity as dangerous upstarts who had upset the ancient order. But for now, at least, the immediate danger had passed. 5 years after the battle, the frozen Eternal Dominion was carefully moved from Mars' orbit to a position between Earth and the Moon. It became a permanent memorial, visible from Earth's surface on clear nights. People would look up and see the dead flagship and remember the day humanity proved itself to the galaxy. On the anniversary of the battle, Yunji's brother visited the memorial again. He was 18 now, old enough to join the military himself. He had been accepted to the pilot academy. Standing before his sister's ice sculpture, he spoke quietly. "I'm going to follow your path. I'm going to help protect Earth like you did. Not because I want war, but because I understand now that peace has to be defended." He saluted the sculpture, tears on his cheeks. "Thank you for keeping your promise. Thank you for saving us all." Above him, stars filled the night sky. Among those stars, humanity now had allies in the Council. They had trade partners, scientific collaborators, and friends. But they also had the memory of how quickly friendship could turn to threats. Earth would never forget the lesson it had learned. Freedom was precious. Peace was valuable, but both could only be preserved by those willing to fight for them when necessary. The Council had threatened. Earth had responded with frozen fury, and the galaxy would remember.